The rusty anchor bar hummed with low jazz and clinking bottles, a rare, calm night by the docks. Marcus and Malik Hale sat in the corner booth, twin brothers finally reunited after years of service apart. Their laughter was quiet, grounded, the kind shared by men who had seen too much and said too little. Two local officers leaned at the counter, eyes narrowing at the sight of them. One tilted his hat, whispering, "Looks like trouble just walked in wearing matching skin." The bartender stopped mid-pour. Conversations faded. Even the jukebox seemed to skip a beat. Marcus ignored it, tracing his thumb over the old Navy ring on his finger. Malik stayed still, the calm before a storm. When the officers began to approach, boots heavy on the wooden floor, Malik's reflection flickered in the brass tap. Unbothered, unshaken, the taller cop dropped his badge on their table, the metal clinking sharp against the wood. "Mind telling us what you're doing here, boys?" Marcus looked up slowly. But when the first badge hit the table, Malik's quiet smile didn't fade. It sharpened. Just hours earlier, Malik's boots had touched U.S. soil for the first time in 9 months. His last mission overseas had been quiet, classified, but his eyes still carried the weight of it. Marcus had met him at the naval base, arms open, grin wide. "No work talk tonight," Marcus said. "No ranks, just brothers." Their mother's voice echoed in both their memories. "Stay grounded, no matter how high you fly." Now, at the rusty anchor bar, that promise hung between them. Malik leaned back, taking in the chatter, the smell of fried shrimp, the faint salt from the docks drifting in. Marcus laughed softly at something his brother said. Two men simply enjoying peace, but peace in some places had a short fuse. Two officers at the counter turned, eyes sharp. One nudged the other and muttered, "You think they paid for those drinks?" Malik caught it but said nothing. He'd learned long ago that silence could be stronger than anger. Marcus's jaw flexed, a habit he'd picked up during long briefings when words had to wait. The cop strolled over, boots echoing on the sticky floor. "Evening," one said flatly. "You two on someone else's tab?" Marcus tried to de-escalate, his tone calm but firm. "No, officer. We're just—" The second cop cut him off, smirking. "What are you, pilots or something?" The tone carried a sting, the kind that had nothing to do with curiosity. Malik's eyes flicked up. For the first time that night, the room felt smaller. Marcus's voice stayed steady, but his hand slipped toward the chain around his neck. No one in that bar knew the weight that single motion carried, or how fast the balance of power was about to shift. The taller officer leaned down, his voice sharp. "Let's see some ID." Malik reached slowly into his wallet, his movements measured, years of training teaching him restraint. He slid his license across the table. The officer glanced at it, frowning. "Out of state?" "That's suspicious." Marcus looked up. "He just got back from deployment," he said evenly. The officer tapped his badge against the table, an unnecessary show of authority. "Deployment, huh? Where? The next bar over?" The crowd started whispering. A few locals shifted uncomfortably, phones quietly lifted to record. Others turned away, pretending the moment didn't exist. The bartender polished an already clean glass, refusing to look their way. Malik's eyes flicked around the room, the same pattern he'd used to scan danger zones overseas. He remembered his father's steady voice years ago. "Stay calm. The truth speaks for itself." The younger officer leaned in, smirking. "Maybe you two think those muscles make you untouchable?" Marcus's jaw tightened. His hand brushed the Navy ring on his finger, the metal glinting under the dim bar light. He took a deep breath. "You're crossing a line, officer." The older cop stepped closer, voice rising. "Is that a threat?" Before Marcus could reply, the man's hand shot out, gripping Malik's shoulder. The entire bar went silent. Malik didn't move, didn't flinch. He just stared straight ahead, still as a soldier in formation. Then, in a voice calm enough to make the hairs on the back of your neck rise, he said, "Sir, this isn't how you want your night to end." Something about his tone, controlled, confident, made the officer hesitate. He released his grip but stayed close, chest puffed, trying to save face. Marcus leaned forward, his voice low but clear. "You really don't know who you're talking to, do you?" Malik gave the faintest shake of his head, as if saying not yet. Phones were now recording openly. The tension in the air was thick enough to choke on. Marcus looked down at the table, exhaled slowly, then reached into his jacket pocket. "What would you do if you were there? Stay silent, or remind them who you really are." He placed something flat and metallic on the table, the polished edge catching the bar's amber light. The room froze. Even the officer's smirk disappeared. And then, with one calm motion, Marcus placed something on the table that made every badge in the room go still. The sound of metal meeting wood echoed through the bar like a gunshot. Marcus's Navy captain ID gleamed beneath the bar lights, official, unmistakable. The officers froze mid-breath. Their confident postures faltered as every whisper in the room turned into stunned silence. Malik slowly stood, unbuttoning his jacket. Beneath it, the golden seal trident patch stitched neatly over his chest. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The older officer's jaw went slack. You're military?" he stammered. Marcus looked at him steadily. "Captain Marcus Hale? U.S. Navy. This is my brother, Commander Malik Hale. United States SEALs." His tone carried no anger, no arrogance, just the quiet authority of a man who had led through storms. The younger cop stepped back, shame spreading across his face. The bartender finally stopped pretending to clean and lowered his head. Marcus leaned forward slightly. "You're talking to men who fought for the freedom you're abusing." Malik's voice followed, calm but cutting. "We didn't come here to prove anything. But maybe you should." No one spoke. The bar, once loud with laughter, now hummed with the sound of shame, the kind that lingers in the air long after words fade. Marcus slipped the ID back into his pocket, leaving behind only the echo of restraint. Malik adjusted his sleeve, his movements as precise as a salute. The officers mumbled apologies, their badges suddenly heavy on their chests. Marcus nodded once. Respect isn't given to power. It's given to character. He started for the door, but paused just long enough for one final line, the one that would haunt that bar for years. "Next time you see someone wearing my skin, and remember, it might be the one protecting yours. Share this if you still believe respect should be earned, not assumed." Outside, the night air felt different, cooler, calmer. The brothers walked in silence, the hum of the bar fading behind them. Malik's steps were steady, his hands still tucked in his jacket pockets. Marcus glanced over, the faintest smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. A few seconds later, the bar doors opened again. The two officers stepped out, no swagger this time, and just quiet regret in their faces. "Sir, we didn't know who you were," one said, his voice low. Malik stopped walking. He turned slowly, his gaze steady, unflinching. "You shouldn't have to," he said. "That's the point." The officers nodded, words failing them. They turned back, leaving the brothers in the stillness of the dockside breeze. Days later, that same bar, once filled with laughter and whispers, changed in a way no one expected. A framed photograph hung near the counter, Marcus and Malik standing beside the local police chief, shaking hands. Below it, a small plaque read, "Honor has no color, only character." The bartender, now quieter, made sure the frame stayed spotless. People noticed. They talked differently. The tone in that place shifted little by little. Respect had replaced rumor. Weeks passed. Marcus and Malik met again at dawn, standing on the pier, coffee cups steaming in the cold morning air. The ocean stretched endless before them, the same horizon they both fought for in different ways. Malik exhaled. "Still think coming here was a mistake?" Marcus smiled faintly, eyes on the rising sun. "No," he said. "Some lessons have to happen out loud." They stood there in silence, two brothers, two soldiers, two symbols of calm strength in a noisy world. Behind them, the town slowly woke. Inside the bar, someone read the plaque again and nodded quietly, perhaps understanding it for the first time. Subscribe for more stories where calm courage turns judgment into justice. What would the world look like if we respected strangers before learning their titles?